Brighton versus Arsenal, the first game of the second half of the season as far as both teams are concerned. The chance for Arsenal to avenge the ridiculous red card from earlier in the season. A tough game, 5:30 p.m. kickoff at the Amex down on the south coast. And it's a big game for Arsenal. Look, we've got a massive month ahead of us. And I think this is an opportunity. We'll get stuck into it. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, like the video. We're looking for daily videos at the moment. And the support, the subscribers recently have been fantastic. The form guide, what's it saying? Well, it's actually saying that whilst on paper, I do think Brighton is a difficult game. You would generally say that Brighton away is a difficult game. They are not in good form. And on form, Arsenal should be going there confident of a win. Brighton haven't won a game since the 23rd of November. They're 7 games without a win at this stage. Some poor results in there, to be honest. Drawing at home to Southampton, draws against Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, and losing to Palace and Fulham within it as well. Really, Villa, the only sort of big team that they've played within that run as well. So it's not like they've had a particularly difficult run of fixtures within that. And they've struggled. They have been struggling. Arsenal, on the other hand, we've not lost in 12 at this point within our last 8 games, 6 wins, 2 draws, 4 wins on the bounce for us. And so looking at the form going into the game, it would very much suggest that Arsenal should come out on top. But football isn't played on paper. Football isn't like that. And it will be a very tough game. I have no doubt about that. The injuries and suspensions going into it, obviously for Arsenal, we've not got Ben White. Jurrien Timber suspended after that 5th yellow card in the previous game. Tomiyasu Saka, Sterling also out. A number of players out for Brighton. Gomez, Estupinian is a doubt. Kadioglu, Hinchelwood, Milner, Ferguson, Welbeck, Weaver. And the managers have spoken about it, so we'll get into that. For Brighton, Adam Webster is back in contention. He wasn't even on that list that we just read out. Jack Hinchelwood is close. Purvis Estupinian, hopefully back from illness. Danny Welbeck, return date is still unclear, so probably not going to be available. Evan Ferguson, not an easy issue, definitely out. Ferdi Kadioglu is definitely out. He confirmed he's had surgery on a toe injury. And Diogo Gomez is out as well. For Arsenal, on that front with Brighton, I don't think they'll risk anyone. So if you're looking at a Webster or a Hinchelwood and then being close to coming back, if you're Brighton, you've been struggling for wins, I don't think you risk them against Arsenal when the run of games after Arsenal is Norwich in the FA Cup, Ipswich away, United away, and Everton at home. They are games that Brighton will eye up wins, and I don't think that they'll risk bringing someone back early and then missing out on those players for those games. For Arsenal, Mikel Arteta obviously did his press conference today. If Kai Havertz can make the squad, obviously he was ill and missed the game earlier in the week. He says, yes, I think so. So we are expecting Kai Havertz hopefully to be back. On if anyone else has been affected by that sickness bug, no. The ones with the injuries, I think, are going to be okay. They will train today, and if everybody is fine, they should be available. He also went on to say on Raheem Sterling, who is out, I think he's starting to do some stuff on the pitch, so that's great news. As quickly as possible, we want him available. Let's see how he progresses this week, and then see if he can go for the following week. On Ben White and Tomiyasu, Ben is still a few weeks away, and Tommy, again, has done some stuff on the pitch, but now, because it's been a long-term injury, we need to see how quickly he can progress and how he reacts. So still, very little information, truthfully, about Takahiro Tomiyasu. He went on to say about Ben White, though, and whether he could be back before the end of this month. It might be a possibility. He hasn't done anything with the team. The knee looks good. He's reacted really well. And in the first few weeks, everything is going smoothly. And I have heard that Ben White is ahead of schedule, in fact. So, yeah, we're looking good on the Ben White front. It will be a massive boost to get him back. If we can get him back by the end of the month, that would be beneficial. Interestingly, on Declan Rice, and I do think this comes into the team that we might expect, managing Declan Rice's minutes. He said in his case especially, he plays so much football. We have 9 games in this period this month, and he had some niggles in the last few games. He had to come off, and we have to manage every player, and there are no exceptions. And it will be interesting to see, looking at the fixtures that we've got coming up, almost on paper, this is kind of the easiest game left before you're looking at Newcastle, incredibly physical game. United in the FA Cup, you need to beat them. Then you've got the likes of Spurs, Villa in the league, massive games. So it will be interesting to see if Declan Rice starts. The other issue we have is Jurrien Timber missing. No Ben White, no Tomiyasu, no right back available. So how do we solve that issue? Now, previously this season, the solution has been Thomas Partey. That is the solution that Mikel Arteta has opted for, and that's probably the most likely scenario. Now, do you know what? Credit to him. Thomas Partey has not been bad at right back. He really hasn't been bad there. Far better, actually, than I worried he would be, especially against wingers. The 4 games that he's played in the Premier League at right back, though, we haven't done particularly well. We beat Southampton, we drew to Liverpool, lost to Newcastle, and drew to Fulham. Now, I don't particularly blame him individually for those results. I mean, Liverpool, we drew. Thought he had an excellent game up against Luis Diaz in that game. But what actually I think is the effect of having Thomas Partey at right back is that we lose Thomas Partey in midfield. And so it's not Thomas Partey's fault. And this is where people get confused when there's negativity around Thomas Partey starting at right back. It's not what you necessarily lose at right back. It's what you lose in the midfield. And especially if we're talking about Declan Rice's fitness issues and whether or not he should play, is it better to just leave Thomas Partey in midfield and find another solution to the right back issue? Is that solution Miles Lewis-Skelly? Now, I posted this on X yesterday, and there were mixed feelings about it. Some people thought it was absolutely ridiculous to suggest that you play Miles Lewis-Skelly at right back. Some people could see the vision. Now, for me, he is the most versatile player that we have. He's a midfielder that has adapted exceptionally quickly to playing at left back. Yes, he's left-footed. You'd be playing a left-footed player at right back. It's not like we haven't played plenty of right-footed players at left back. So it is something that we can do. But he's incredibly comfortable on the ball. And that is where I think he would be fine playing at right back. It would mean that we'd probably have to have, we'd have Calafiori at left back, and I think he'd have to become the more advanced fullback. Miles Lewis-Skelly moving into the midfield. I think that is a perfectly acceptable solution to this problem. I would at least like to see it, given the try. Now, the only other solution that I can think of, other than doing something completely wild, is Riccardo Calafiori, which would basically be the same thing. Effectively, we'd be starting with Miles Lewis-Skelly and Calafiori, one of them at right back, one of them at left back, and you can pick. You can pick and choose. Let me know in the comments, by the way, what your solution to this problem would be. Would it be Partey at right back? But for Calafiori, we have seen him there briefly this season. When Timber went off at halftime against PSG, Kivior came on at left back, Calafiori moved to right back. And to be honest, he was perfectly comfortable there. He locked up Bradley Barcola, no problem. So, again, I would be comfortable to see Riccardo Calafiori there. And if it means keeping Thomas Partey in midfield, I'm more than happy to do that. So we'll wait and see. To be honest, knowing Mikel Arteta, it will be Thomas Partey. But I just think there are some other solutions in there, In terms of how the game is going to go and in terms of where I think we win this game, I was looking back to the game at home and some people thought that we performed poorly in that game. Before the red card, the first half, it was like many of the games that we've seen this season, just dominance. We conceded virtually nothing. We had plenty of opportunities to score. The interesting thing, though, was that the way Brighton came to the Emirates, really only Liverpool in the Premier League have done the same in terms of coming to the Emirates and playing roughly their own game, their normal game. They certainly didn't sit back in a horrible block the way that most teams have, and I think they'll do that again. Havertz, from what I've seen this season, has no interest in adapting his style to suit the teams that he's against. And that will cost Brighton at times. It will play into Brighton's hands sometimes. So I'm not expecting to go to the Amex and play against a Brighton team that is camped on the edge of their own box, like we've seen against Brentford and Ipswich and Everton and Fulham and all the rest of it. But it does mean that there's space in behind. And there were a number of occasions in the game against Brighton where we got in behind. This occasion, I think it was Declan Rice was making the run through the middle. Ben White spread it over to the wing. In terms of the actual goal that we scored, again, we caught them on the break. Kai Havertz making that run. It'll be interesting whether it's Kai Havertz or Gabriel Jesus. But again, I do think this almost second man run, you could see Marino even finding this gap against Brighton in behind, which I would quite like to see. So I do think we can expose a slightly higher line with Brighton. Definitely feels like, especially at home, they will probably stick to what they know, stick to their roots. And so that is option one, or that is solution one to beating Brighton. We should create more than we've had the opportunity to do in quite a few of our previous matches. Next up is set piece again, ole ole. And the reason is, I was watching their game against Aston Villa, the last game that they played. They drew 2-2. Both of Aston Villa's goals effectively came from the same thing. This one was the first one. The one on the right-hand side was the first one. Ball in, and I want you to look at where Morgan Rogers is on both of these. They're almost identical. They happened in two different halves, but they are almost identical. So the first one was the one on the right-hand side. The ball comes in. They crowd the keeper. Morgan Rogers is stood in front of the front post. The ball is just over his head, if you can see it there. The ball drops to Morgan Rogers because they failed to clear it. Brighton failed to clear it, and he wins a penalty there. He gets his foot to the ball first, wins a penalty. That's how they scored their first goal. The second goal on the left-hand side here, I mean, it is literally almost identical. The ball comes in. Once again, they crowded the keeper at the front post. The keeper doesn't win it, and I think it's Bart Verbruggen in goal, who seemingly is not comfortable under crosses. The ball once again falls to Morgan Rogers, who is stood at the front post, and this time he just buries it. Excuse me. So I think, given that this is our specialty, and given that Brighton very clearly struggled against it against Aston Villa, we should be looking to win corners. And there is no shame in that. There is no shame in looking to win corners. And we can do that, especially if there's space in behind. If you can feed Martinelli in behind on one side, whoever it is on the right-hand side, Waneri or whoever on the right-hand side, they can get to the byline and win a corner. And we can win plenty of them. Stick it on Bart Verbruggen's head at the front post. I think we will score a set-piece goal. I would put money on us scoring a set-piece goal. And based on the way that we've played previously, I don't think that is, too unrealistic. So, all of that said, this is the lineup that I would go for. Let me know your lineup in the comments. Raya in goal. I do genuinely believe trying Miles Lewis-Skelly at right back would be fun and exciting, and I think he would crush it because that's what he does. Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. Thomas Partey at the base of midfield again. I thought he was fantastic against Brentford. If Declan Rice is struggling and we're managing his minutes, realistically, the games ahead are more physically demanding and more difficult than this one. So continue with Thomas Partey there in midfield. Ødegaard and Marino. I'd keep Waneri at right wing. I was very happy with him against Brentford. Thought he was exciting. In terms of Brighton's team, they've got no Kadioglu. Pervis Estupiñán is potentially going to play, might not. He's been under the weather. So I'd keep Waneri on the right wing. And I'd stick with Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus. Again, Kai Havertz, if he's battling illness, he might be over it. Just give him an extra few days or bring him on as a sub. There's no point rushing him back in because I think, that's the same front six that we played against Brentford, and I thought they were very good. So that is the team that I would go with. That's the lineup I would go with. In terms of a score prediction, I am going to say, and by the way, I was bang on. I predicted 3-1 against Brentford and got it correct. I am going to say 4-1 to Arsenal. That is my score prediction. Let me know yours in the comments. And that is the end of the video. Obviously, we will be live. This is a plug. We will be live for the watch-along of Brighton versus Arsenal on Big Up. The link to Big Up, the future of football watch-alongs, by the way. Fantastic platform. Love being on there. Down in the description, the link to that. We'll go live about 5:15 ahead of the 5:30 kickoff. So I hope to see as many of you over there as possible. And other than that, please do subscribe, like the video. Have a fantastic Friday. And I'll hopefully catch you all on the watch-along tomorrow. If not, there will be a review of the game on this channel later that evening. Until then, goodbye.